I'm Margaret Brennan in Washington, and this week on Face the Nation, we'll talk exclusively with one of the two candidates standing between Donald Trump and the Republican nomination, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. Plus, Democrats ramp up their efforts to motivate voters on the issue of reproductive rights. With just hours to go before the polls open in the first-in-the-nation primary, former President Trump actually isn't exaggerating.
This is a big deal. The whole world is watching now in New Hampshire.
Nikki Haley agrees with him. The world is watching. But she says people are looking for a new generation and a different tone.
I mean, I think they both cause chaos. Look at our country right now.
We want people at the top of their game. These are people making decisions on our national security.
But that's only one side of campaign 2024. We traveled to another early primary state, Michigan, where we sat down with the governor and co-chair of the Biden campaign, Gretchen Whitmer. Her message is loud and clear.
Abortion's on the ballot in all 50 states.
The challenge for Democrats, using that message to build enthusiasm about President Biden. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders will also join us to talk about the issues Republicans hope will motivate their voters. It's all just ahead on Face the Nation. Good morning and welcome to Face the Nation. The New Hampshire primary is just 2 days away. Can anyone stop the Trump steamroll towards the Republican nomination? We go now to former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, who is hoping to be the one to stop him. She's on the campaign trail in Derry, New Hampshire. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
As you know, our CBS polling shows that you are the Republican candidate with the best chance at beating Joe Biden in a head-to-head race. And yet, Donald Trump is the party's front runner. Why do you think, Ambassador, that the Republican establishment isn't doing more to help you?
Well, I mean, this is what primaries are all about. This is about the fact that, you know, people get to decide which way they want to go forward. What I have said is you can either pick more of the same or you can go forward with a new generational leader. More of the same is, you know, the fact that you've got 70% of Americans don't want to see a Trump-Biden rematch. More of the same is the fact that both of these presidents put us trillions of dollars in debt, and our kids are never going to forgive us for it. More of the same is the fact that we're going to have two presidential candidates in their 80s. That's not what our kids want. That's not what we should want. You know, more of the same is the fact that we can't be a country in disarray and have a world on fire and go through 4 more years of chaos. We won't survive it.
But 26 Republican senators at this point and all of the House Republican leadership have lined up behind Donald Trump. Why? Are they afraid of him?
Not surprised at all, and I'll tell you why. You'll see a lot of the South Carolina legislature line up behind him, too, and it's because I've never really taken care of elected officials. I call out elected officials because I think they need to be accountable to the people. I call out Republicans and Democrats when they don't do the right thing. So it's not surprising that that set is going towards Trump because he's going to take care of them. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take care of the taxpayers. I've always done that my entire career, and I'll keep on doing it.
Can you win in South Carolina?
I've won twice as governor.
Former President Trump on Friday repeatedly and wrongly said that you were in charge of the January 6th security response at the Capitol, and he said your name 4 times. I want to play this for our viewers.
They never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley, you know, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything, deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things, like Nikki Haley is in charge of security.
It's unclear what he's talking about as being deleted, but you said yesterday hearing this made you question Donald Trump's mental fitness. Is that the first time you questioned his mental fitness?
If you look recently, there have been multiple things. I mean, he claimed that Joe Biden was going to get us into World War II. I'm assuming he meant World War III. He said that he ran against President Obama. He never ran against President Obama. He says that I'm the one that kept security from the Capitol on January 6th. I was nowhere near the Capitol on January 6th. But, Margaret, you don't be surprised if you have someone that's 80 in office. Their mental stability is going to continue to decline. That's just human nature. We know that. What I'm saying is, first of all, you're talking about somebody who's only going to be in office 4 years. Secondly, you're talking about someone who continues to, I mean, look, I don't know if he was confused. I don't know what happened, but it should be enough to send us a warning sign that if you look Joe Biden, he's very different than he was 2 years ago. Are we really going to go into a situation where we have wars around the world and we're trying to prevent war, and we're going to have someone who we can or can't be sure that they're going to get confused? It's a real issue. That's not being disrespectful. It's just a fact.
Why do you think Trump's voters care about that? And when you worked in his cabinet, did you ever question his mental fitness?
When I worked in his cabinet, I called him out if he was doing something wrong. I mean, I would show up, I'd pick up the phone and say, you can't do this. Instead, you could do X, Y, or Z. You know, so I always told him what I thought was in the best interest of the country when I was in his cabinet. But this is different. I mean, we're seeing he's just not at the same level he was at 2016. I think we're seeing some of that decline. But more than that, what I'll say is focus on the fact that no matter what it is, chaos follows him. Rightly or wrongly, chaos follows him.
Does he cause it?
And America is tired. In some cases, he causes it. In some cases, he doesn't. But regardless, he's like a magnet to it. And so what happens is that puts the rest of America in chaos. And people are tired. And they're worried.
I want to ask you about an ad that you have released that includes video and testimony from the mother of Otto Warmbier, who was an American student from the University of Virginia who was taken prisoner in North Korea and died, as you know, after the Trump administration did bring him home. Pundits say national security does not matter to voters. Why do you think this story is one you need to tell?
I think this really does show the contrast. So I worked with Cindy and Fred Warmbier. They're amazing people. And I will tell you as a parent, no parent wants to see their child return to them the way they saw Otto returned. This was a happy, smart kid. He went to North Korea. And, I mean, the thugs in North Korea tortured him and returned him back in a state that is unconscionable. And the difference is I told Fred and Cindy, speak up, get loud, make sure I will help you. Let's partner. We're going to call North Korea out. I passed the largest set of sanctions against them in a generation by pushing China and Russia to do it. But what did Trump do? Instead, he talked about love letters going back and forth to Kim Jong-un. Cindy would contact me. She was so upset. And he went and said, oh, but Kim said that he wasn't aware of any torture that happened to Otto. All you had to do was look at Otto when he was returned back to his parents. But this goes back to a pattern. I mean, we saw this over and over again. It's not just that. He congratulated China's President Xi a dozen times after China gave us COVID. He congratulated the Chinese Communist Party on their 70th anniversary. We don't congratulate the Communist Chinese Party. I remember at the United Nations, I had to sit him down and tell him to stop this bromance with Putin. I mean, you can't have someone who's trying to buddy up with dictators that want to kill us. Instead, you have to let them know what we expect of them.
I want to ask you about clarifying your position here, because you've spoken about the complexity of the abortion issue personally for you. And you've said there's no national consensus, so there won't be a federal law. But you've also said if there were one passed, if it were 6 weeks, it was 15 weeks, or it was restrictions after 20 weeks, which you signed when you were governor, that you'd be okay with that. When we spoke yesterday to Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, she said that you would sign a national abortion ban. Would you?
You know, it's so interesting because you can't say that to the American people because all you're doing is putting fear and judgment in them. Yes, I'm unapologetically pro-life, but I don't judge anyone for being pro-choice. I have said I am fine with a federal law. But the thing is, in order to get a federal law, you have to have a majority of the House, 60 senators, and a signature of a president. Margaret, we haven't had 60 Republican senators in over 100 years. So no Republican president can ban abortions any more than a Democrat president can ban any state law. What we can do is let's find consensus. I think we can find consensus to ban late-term abortions. I think we can find consensus to encourage adoptions and good quality adoptions. I think we can find consensus that doctors and nurses who don't believe in abortion shouldn't have to perform them. I think we can find consensus that contraception should be accessible. And I think we should find consensus that any woman who has an abortion, no state law should say she's going to jail or getting the death penalty. I will not demonize this issue. It's too personal. We have to start doing that. Democrats use fear and Republicans use judgment. This is too personal of an issue to use fear or judgment, and I won't be a part of any of that.
Okay, but you're not taking a ban off the table, which allows for Democrats to say that you would be on board. Can you say you will not?
60 senators would never approve a ban on abortion. That's a fact. That's a fact. So why put out something that's implying something's going to happen to the American people that is a lie? That's never going to happen.
But Democrats are using this to motivate voters. Democrats are using this to motivate voters so that they do get the math to add up one day. So if the math does add up one day, would you sign a ban?
This is the problem with Democrats. Democrats put fear in the American people. The American people don't need fear. They need confidence. They need security. They need to know that everything's going to be okay. When it comes to the abortion issue, I will never put fear in the American people. I will tell them the hard truth. The hard truth is 60 senators will never agree to a full ban on abortion. That's a fact. Republicans or Democrats, 60 senators are not going to agree to that. I don't know what 60 senators are going to agree to. Right now, they don't even agree to 15 weeks. So we've got a long way to go. Our goal should be, how do we save as many babies as we can and support as many moms as we can?
Governor, we have to leave it there. Thank you for your time. Face the Nation will be back in 1 minute with Michigan Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Stay with us.